everybody, welcome back to my channel. Happy December. I hope you guys all had a really great Thanksgiving. I had a really great Thanksgiving. My family was here. It was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, my 5-year-old nephew's contribution to Thanksgiving was the flu, so that moved through our house over the weekend. Not fun, but we're all over it now, thankfully. And now we are in December. It's Christmas season. Today is actually my oldest brother's birthday, so we're having a good day in our house. We've got some cookies being made for him, and yeah, it's a good day in December. And today we are going to be doing my November reading wrap-up, and I read 6 books in November, so not bad, not bad. Like half of these books are actually rereads for me. I've really been in a rereading kind of mood lately. The first book that I read in November was The Lacemaker by Frantz, which is a reread for me. It was weird because I think I dreamt about it maybe, or it just like popped into my mind one day, but it was one of those things that I was like, where it was like, do you ever like remember something from a book but you can't quite place it? And so you're like, what is that? And then so I was like sitting there. I don't know if it came up in a dream or if it just popped into my mind one day, but I feel like one day I was just spending the whole day going, what was that book? Like I kind of vaguely remember this thing from a book, and it took me a couple days of it bugging me to be like, oh yeah, that's The Lacemaker. That's what I'm thinking of. So then I had to read it because it had been on my mind for like 3 or 4 days as I tried to figure out where this thought came from originally. And so I had to reread that one, and it is of course a 5-star read for me. It's one of my favorite Frantz books. I don't know if The Lacemaker or if The Rose and the Thistle is my favorite. Might be The Lacemaker. I do really enjoy it. So I started the month with rereading that one. And then I went ahead and read A Millstone of Doubt by Vetsch. This is the second book in the Thorndike and Swan mystery series, which I had read the first book in October, and then I had to like set the series aside so that I could do some books for my 2024 reading challenge that I was behind on, which, by the way, I kind of gave up on my 2024 reading challenge, which I'll talk more about that in my reading goals wrap-up video at the end of this month. But I had 5 books left, and I was just like, I just can't. So anyway, but more details on that in another video. So I went on to the second book in the Thorndike and Swan mystery series, which is A Millstone of Doubt. This one I only gave 4 stars. I gave the Debutante's Code, which is the first book, 5 stars, but this one I just didn't like as much. It was definitely more murder heavy, like a lot more bodies. Like the first one is about like art thieves and spies, and this one, a lot of bodies showed up in this one, which I didn't appreciate. But also, like, I feel like she kind of leaned away from the spycraft in this one and leaned more into like the investigative. And so I kind of wish that I had seen more scenes of like our 2 main leads being trained in their spycraft. We didn't really see that much. So yeah, I only gave it 4 stars. But then I read this third book in the series, which is Children of the Shadows, and that one I gave a massive 5 stars. I really enjoyed Children of the Shadows. I thought it had a great storyline. It had its dark moments, but it had a great storyline. There were a few less bodies in it, which I appreciated, and we got a little more into the spy side, and we really had the characters' personal stories coming together. I really enjoyed Children of the Shadows. I gave it 5 stars. It was great. And then next, I stuck with Vetsch and read her newest release, which is A Thieving at Carlton House. And this one I also gave a resounding 5 stars. This one stars Juliet Thorndyke's uncle. So Juliet Thorndike is the main girl in the Thorndike and Swan mysteries. And in this one, we jump over to her Uncle Bertie. And it is the first book in the Of Cloaks and Daggers series. It just came out in November. And I loved Bertie and Philippa, and I enjoyed the story. And it was it was just a whole lot of fun, and yeah. Oh, I remember what I was going to say about Children of the Shadows. So let's jump back to Children of the Shadows for a second. One of the things that I loved about Children of the Shadows is that it got me. Like, the villain in the end really got me. Like, with most books, I can guess the villain pretty early on. But this one, like, I feel like Erica Vetsch really led me on a merry chase in Children of the Shadows, and I did not get the villain until much, much later in the book, and I was like, she got me, she tricked me, and so of course I had to give it, like, extra bonus points for that. With A Thieving at Carlton House, I did get the villain pretty early. I'm pretty sure, actually, as soon as he was introduced, I was like, yeah, it's him. I don't feel like that was all that well hidden, but I did really enjoy the story, and I look forward to the rest of the series. I don't know when they're coming out. They haven't been announced yet, but she did. It was funny because in her, like, the page where she has her books listed out, she has the other two, the second and third book, named already, which not a lot of series give you the names of the second and third book when they release the first one. So I was very surprised, like, by that, and I thought, oh, well, maybe it'll be closer together. Maybe, you know, this is one of those series that will just, like, be released a month or two apart. But then, like, on neither her website or the publisher's website had anything listed for the second and third book, so I was like, oh no, they're probably still going to be like a year apart. She just printed the names already. So anyway, that is A Thieving at Carlton House. And then I went on to another new release, which is An Honorable Deception by Roseanna M. White. And I love Roseanna M. White. She is one of my all-time favorite authors. I have been waiting all year for An Honorable Deception. This is the third book in the Imposter series. This follows the story of Yates, who is the older brother of the imposters duo, and he has been my favorite character from the very first book. When I read the very first book, I was like, Yates better get a book because I want a book with this guy as the main character. I absolutely adored him, and I enjoyed the story, but I only gave it 4 stars. And now I'm going to tell you what I didn't like about it, which is funny because, like, normally if I give a book 4 stars, it's really, really good in my opinion, and so I don't necessarily need to tell you what I don't like about it. But since Roseanna M. White is one of my very favorite authors, and I almost always give her book 5 stars, I feel like I almost have to, like, justify the fact that I only gave it 4 stars. So I'm going to explain to you what I didn't like about it now. So there are 3 things. 3 reasons that I only gave it 4 stars. One is it's a love triangle, and y'all know I hate love triangles. I can't stand them. I think they're the worst. But I do give them a chance, especially with a book like this, which is one of my favorite authors and whose character I really liked. But with this love triangle, not only is it a love triangle, but I felt it was a very unnecessary love triangle. So we have Yates, our main character, and he's kind of choosing between 2 girls. But you know, the thing is that both of these girls get a guy in the end. One ends up with Yates, and I won't say who, and the other one gets a different guy. And so I was like, well, if they're both going to have happy endings in the end, then we don't even need... Yes?
Sorry.
So if both... if both girls end up with a guy in the end, and they both have, like, a separate story, why do we have a triangle in the first place? Like, it was unnecessary. Like, I felt like it was just there to add drama. Like, they both had their own story, their own love stories, and they could have just had their own love stories independent of each other. We did not need the love triangle. Like, not only was it annoying, but it was unnecessary, especially since the girl that Yates ended up with, I could see from the beginning. It was so obvious. They had so much chemistry. Like you couldn't imagine them not with each other. So I was kind of like, why is the other girl here in the first place? Like, other than the fact that she was necessary for the plot, I was like, why? Why is this a love triangle? I don't even understand it. Like, it was unnecessary to me. But the second thing that I didn't really like was the whole climax scene. You know, every book like this, it has a big climax scene where the plot comes together and everything is resolved. And with this one, you know, with it being imposters and they're detectives, it's really the climax of their detective case. And I felt like it was so weird, honestly. Like, this whole climax is going on, and I was sitting there reading going, what is happening? Like, I don't understand what is happening, and I don't feel like this ever would happen in real life, and this is really outlandish, and nobody would buy this, and it was just a little outlandish for me. And then the third thing, and this is just really me getting really nitpicky, is that some characters from previous series of Roseanna M. White's are introduced in this book, kind of like an Easter egg, you know, tying her universe together, which I really like, as she's done that in several books in the past. She's tied characters together and series together and made mention of things, and so I don't mind it, and I appreciate the Easter eggs. I think it's fun. But with this one, there was some information given about these characters and the way they meet. Everybody wants to talk to me today. Okay, the way that they meet each other, and I just kept thinking, like, this doesn't make sense timeline-wise for that series, because the series that they're from takes place 4 years after this book, and I just kept thinking, there's no way they met 4 years before the events of that book. Like, that doesn't make sense. And so it was driving me a little crazy, because I was like, no, this doesn't work. And I even texted my friend about it. I was like, am I the crazy one here? Like, they can't have met 4 years ago. Like, that doesn't make sense. And then so yeah, that was just a little personal nitpick of me, because it really bugged me that I was like, this doesn't work timeline wise. But yeah, so those are the 3 reasons that I only gave it 4 stars, which again, it's an excellent book. And any other, you know, author or book that I gave 4 stars, I would just be like, it's great, it's 4 stars. But because I hold Roseanna White to such a high standard, which is like probably wrong of me, but because I hold her to such a high standard, I have to explain my reasons for not giving her 5 stars, because she really is an excellent writer, and I love her books so much, and I should not hold her to a higher standard, but I do. Anyway, so the next book that I read is another reread for me, and that was A Name Unknown by Roseanna M. White. And actually, this is going to be a little bit of a spoiler, but I had to go back and reread this book because I needed to confirm to myself of my opinion on the timeline. So maybe a character from this book shows up in an honorable exception, maybe not. I totally just spoiled that, but I didn't tell you who. So, but anyway, and I just want to say, after reading this book, I was right. But, you know, I can't even blame Roseanna White. She writes a lot of books. I can't be mad at her for getting her own timeline wrong, because, like, I probably shouldn't know her books well enough to know when it is, you know? It's like, that just makes me a little too much of a fan, probably. But anyway, so this is, of course, a 5-star book in my opinion. It's one of my favorites, as most of her books are. So I reread that one. And, yeah. So that was my little roller coaster of November reads, and I hope you were able to follow along with me in this video. I'm sorry for the interruptions. Yeah, so it is December now, and I am jumping into my Nutcracker readathon, which, if you have not heard about, check out my previous video where I talk about it. And I will see you in the next video.